Good morning, guys. It is Saturday morning and I'm excited for another day of install into 395 Junkie Garage. And today we got a big day of installs that should take a good part of the day. We are doing the installing the ARB Twin Compressor mount mounted underneath the passenger seat. Up-down Systems provides and sells this mount that'll go underneath the passenger seat that the compressor will get installed on. I also elected to go with their air delivery system, which allows you to air up and air down all 4 tires at the same time. Got a big day of install. It's early. I want to get started on it right away. I'm not sure how long it's going to take me, but to be honest with you, I don't have any other plans, as probably most of you don't either. So it's time well spent into 395 Junkie Garage. So let's get started right away. All right, guys. So we're going to start with installing the bracket and ARB compressor underneath the passenger seat. And the first thing that we're going to do is take this door off so that it's a little easier to get the seat in and out. Alright guys, so what we're doing now is before we can take the seat out, we need to disconnect all the wires that are underneath it. And there it goes. There's a yellow connector underneath the passenger seat that you'll have to disconnect, and that's basically this red clip. Whenever it's engaged and locked, this red clips up all the way. In order to take this off, you have to pull that red clip back, pull it back, and then push down, and then it'll come right off real easy. All right, next what we need to do is we need to disconnect the seat belt and remove the 4 bolts holding the seat down. You got a T45 here and 18 millimeters everywhere else. So let's do the seat belt first. All right, with the seat belt removed, now we can take off the 4 bolts holding the seat down with our 18 millimeter impact driver. That's some serious red Loctite. Move the seat up so you can get access to the rear bolts. I'll tell you what, without an impact driver, this would be a whole lot more difficult. All right, with the 4 bolts removed, we can now remove the seat. And we're gonna bring this in the garage because that's where we're gonna work on it. Might bring a vacuum under here. Got a little bit of nastiness all over the place. It's always interesting to look in areas that you don't normally get to see how everything's holding up. All right, looks good. Let's move inside. All right, so what we're gonna do now is we're going to reposition the seat so it makes it a little easier to work on. That'll do. All right, in order to install the bracket for the compressor, we need to remove these 6 bolts from the bottom of the seat. And it looks like we got another connector here, which I believe we need to take that off next. So they want you to remove this entire bracket that's holding this wire connector with the T30. All right, so next is they want us to go ahead and mount the compressor onto the mount, so we'll do that next. Whew. Oh man, that's been a lot of work so far. I think I need a drink. It's like 9 o'clock in the morning, and I know what you guys are thinking. This guy is a a little bit too relaxed during his stay-at-home COVID, but I'm doing it. I don't care what you think. I am drinking a Diet Dr. Pepper this early in the morning. Oh, did you guys think I was getting a beer? No. So in reading the directions, it wants you to make sure you're using the correct mounting holes depending on your compressor that you're using. And since we're using the Twin ARB, I'm going to go ahead and quickly mark them up to make sure I'm mounting them on the correct ones later. I have a tendency to do things twice because I'm not real careful. So this is me making an effort to not have to do things twice. So, boom. All right, so let's go ahead and mount the compressor to the bracket using the mounting holes we marked earlier. I bet. All right, so as evidenced, what I was saying earlier about not paying attention and going too quick, that's exactly what I did. So it said to make sure that you're using the correct mounting holes, but there's only 2 mounting holes for this bracket for the Twin ARB. These other ones are for a locker manifold if you're running lockers off the air compressor. And the other one's for optional other compressor mounting holes. So take note, if you're doing this install, you only need these 2 to connect to the bracket. And you know what? I think I'm going to, it doesn't say to, but I think I'm going to throw some Loctite on these, only because I imagine getting back under this Jeep, if it starts getting loose, is going to be just a tad bit frustrating, to say the least. Doesn't take much of this stuff, but sure is worth it, especially in a situation like this. All right, that step's done. Let's move on to the next one. All right, so up-down air system sent us these 90-degree swivels that we need to install next, and they recommend putting some thread sealer on it. So we're going to apply a little bit of thread sealer on it. All right, that should be tight enough. All right, so now it's time to mount that onto the bottom of the seat. So let's get the seat back up here, get the compressor ready. You got 6 holes on the mount and 6 holes at the bottom of the seat. Should slide right in. And once we get that done, it looks like we install the seat risers back on top of it. Very cool. And now we just need to tighten those bolts back on. And again, I think I'll use some Loctite on this as well. Start these all by hand. Well, this is my unhappy face. So I'm at the point in the install with the ARB compressor that it wants me to hook up all the wiring. Well, I need to get 2 very, very large wiring harnesses through the firewall into the hood compartment here. And as you can see, I'm running the Genesis system, and I've got a lot of accessories already hooked up to it in an organized fashion, but nevertheless, I've got this bird right here just chirping. Beat it. Get your own video. In any case, make a long story short, I got to take the dual battery system out, get access to what should be a larger size firewall behind the batteries, and run the harness through that way. So not as planned, but something that needs to get done regardless. So I'm going to get on it right now. So we're going to go ahead and mark everything so it makes it a little bit easier to hook everything back up, because this is going to be a real mess if I'm not careful. Not too bad. Took like 30 minutes. Just hope we don't take this Genesis holder out, because that would be a pain. And I think we do. Wow. Alright, so that was a real hassle, but we got both of the wire harnesses through the larger firewall, which was behind the batteries, which is behind the battery box, which required to take both batteries out, the whole Genesis dual battery system, the main power source circuit board here. I'm sure there's a technical name, can't think of it right now. In any case, wires are all through. I'm just going to fit the grommet back in there as best I can and start putting all this mess back together and hopefully do it correctly. There was a lot of pieces I had to take apart, and I've done it once, so I'm going to get back to it right now. All right, grommet's back in 100%. Let's put this mess back together. Getting there. Tell you what, this is a much bigger project than I anticipated it to be. That's for sure. Alright guys, we're getting there. Just making the last couple connections and we'll be good to go. While I'm hooking everything back up, I'm cleaning it up a little too. I got so many of these smaller wires on the big terminal, it just doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to use the round bus terminal that comes with the Genesis system, and I think that makes a whole lot more sense than trying to fit everything on one big terminal. Last connection, and then I still have to do the KC lights, but I might save that for another day. I still got a lot of work to do on this up-down system. So that was a real pain in the ass. Moving on, I still need to wire up the S-Pod. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. I know I said I like to do good wiring, but man, there's only so much you can do with this mess I got going on. I got a lot of stuff hooked up to the battery. And believe it or not, that is organized. Could probably be better, but I don't know how. All right, so big shout out to Genesis and to S-Pod. I sent both those guys a message today just to make sure I was doing everything right. I didn't have any sort of special wiring the way I was supposed to do it or anything, any special harnesses. And John over at S-Pod, it's not the first time I sent him a message and he responded either as late at night or on, you know, in this case it's on the weekend. And good guys. Appreciate them answering questions on a Saturday, because deal with some of these bigger companies, be lucky to get a hold of them during the week. let alone on a weekend. All right, with everything done under the hood, now all I need to do is just route these wires, which both go to the compressor underneath this trim, and get them out of the way. So I'm going to do that right now. All right, so we got all the wiring done. It's out of the way, ready for the seat install. I'm electing to not worry about mounting the up-down system inside underneath the hood. I'm instead going to go directly back from the compressor through my goose gear to this side, where I'm going to mount the controller up here on right there to the goose gear, where the controller is going to go for the up-down system. So I reached out to up-down system as well on a Saturday, and they responded back and they said you can mount it pretty much anywhere you want, which makes sense. So I'm going to do that next, and we'll go from there. Oh boy, she's heavy. She's a heavy girl. Making sure I'm not pinching any wires. All right, this one's, boy, it's just barely long enough. Kind of feel like I got lucky in that I left myself just enough slack on both directions. I think that's in. Got the seat. We should be good to go. I like that a lot. In theory, I should be able to turn the compressor on right now. Without further ado, yeah, nice, perfect. I'm very happy about that. I am very happy about that. Very, very cool. Oh, that could have just been really, really tragic. All right, just finishing the plumbing, so to speak, making sure nothing's pinched, making sure it all works. Should be good to go. All right, guys, so right now what I'm doing is, it hasn't started raining, so I figure I'll shoot this little video to show you guys what I'm messing around with. Here's where I'm putting the Schrader valves. I'm actually going to put it where the blue tape is, right above the rock slider, which should prevent it from getting kicked or prevent it from getting hit by a rock. And then I'm putting the other Schrader valve, same thing, where the blue tape is on that one, right there, but that's what it looks like. And I got all the hosing running underneath it, and I got it going on the same places on the driver's side. And as you recall, I ended up moving the brains of the system. I switched places with the NOCO, and that gives it a straight shot to under the seat right here, a straight shot to the compressor. This is easily, I can still see it, and then that's the output port that's gonna go to the whole system. And you can see it's kind of running underneath the front passenger tire, I'm sorry, the front passenger seat, and I'm currently going to be putting it underneath the carpet, and under there is where one of the drain plugs is. You can see it down there, and that's where I'm going to go from inside the cab, outside the cab. So I'm going to keep messing with it, and I'll give you guys an update. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to drill the 5/16 holes that are required to fit those Schrader valves in the location I want. And I already started it with a smaller drill bit, and I'm going to finish drilling it out, throw some paint on there, and then move those Schrader valves over, and we'll see how it looks. Just using some paint that I got from AutoZone. I use it all the time. It's a Chrysler, so black is black. It doesn't really matter, even though technically Jeep is a Chrysler product. And it doesn't have to be pretty, but just to keep the rust from coming in. issue here. So I'm not going to be able to use these holes that I drilled, unfortunately, because I guess I should have thought all the way through it. This part of the Schrader valve is too long to be able to get it out there all the way in order to fit it behind and come through. I just don't have the clearance, which is fine because I could put it right here and it's just as good. So alright, so what I'm doing now is I'm just using some tie downs. You can't really see. I'm using some tie downs to keep the hose up and out of the way. Alright guys, so we got it all plumbed up. Everything's hooked up. I got a lot of it ran on top of the skid plate here, which try to give you a decent view, which ain't gonna happen. Runs across there, here, and it connects to above the right below the passenger seat is the drain plug where the source is coming from. And we've got all of our Schrader valves installed, ready to go. There's a couple areas where you can see the lines showing, so especially right here, that just looks cheesy. So I'm probably gonna do something about that with some zip ties and tie it off a little bit more. But now's the moment of truth. I'm gonna fire it all up, follow the instructions, and test it out and see what happens. All right guys, we got all 4 quick connects hooked up. I just deflated, everything went well. So we're gonna keep filling up these tires and we're gonna call this done. So hope you guys enjoyed the video, and hopefully you guys are watching all the rest of them. And if you like them, please click like, subscribe, share with your friends, and visit us again in the real near future for our next adventure.
If you want to, I'll get you flowers waiting around the bend. Baby, let's just pretend. I wanna stay like this forever. I wanna stay right here with you. I wanna stay right here with you. As the rest we fall until it all breaks down. But I need it so I will stay around. When you're all messed up, it's a great relief to be understood.